Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 11. And if you do not know who that little girl is, it'll make a lot more sense to you if you watch Stranger Things. So, just a little bit of fun in there. But our social story is a really fun chance for us to get creative. You're actually going to write a story, and you're going to publish it in one of two mediums. So you'll have a choice between Cast Book Builder or Tar Heel Reader. Those are both accessible book building software tools. They are both available on the web. They work best on a computer. I think you can still access them from your phone, but it's probably easier if you use your computer. And then you can create little books that you can share wherever you like. They are published on the web. So the idea of a social story, and I would encourage you to watch the extended lecture, but this is sort of a very short version. The idea of a social story is to help students with disabilities, primarily those from autism spectrum, but not necessarily. It could be lots of different folks, to show them behavior. To model for them the behavior that we want them to be using in whatever situation. So that might be a social interaction behavior to reinforce social skills. This might be a classroom behavior. It might be just simply empowering students to enjoy school and, when they're following the rules, they're going to have more fun. It could be lots of ways to incorporate this, and it can be done at every level. So whether that's big kids or little kids, it can be done at all levels. And I would encourage you to read more about the social story model to get an idea of what it is that, how you structure a social story, because it's a little specific. They're usually written from the third person. So instead of you or I, it's typically Susie or Johnny or whoever. You can be part of that too, but typically it's more that third person perspective to help students kind of see themselves in the story without calling them out as you are not so, you're not so hot. You need to do this better. You're not going to use negativity. You're going to stay positive and simply show the correct ideal behaviors that we're looking for. So it might be, here's Johnny. Johnny's in the lunch line. He's getting his tray. He's thanking the lunch lady. He sits down with his friends. He has a nice chat. He uses his inside voice, et cetera, et cetera. So you're showing Johnny going through the typical lunch behaviors in a way that you want Johnny to do the lunch behaviors. Instead of, you don't necessarily even have to mention the fact that Johnny might also throw his lunch at people or yell or scream or whatever. We're not going to go there. We're going to go into more of the correct behaviors and not the don't do this, don't do that stuff. That is not as encouraging for a student, and it's kind of a turnoff for them. So we're going to give them an objective to start with. So we're going to make sure that they have one basic objective. So there's another chance for you to practice your ABCDs. So, who are the learners? What do you want them to do? Again, use those action verbs. And give them the conditions. So, after reading the social story, students, Johnny will be able to get his lunch and sit in at his table and use his inside voice. That might be it. There's our degree. We want him to use his inside voice and get his lunch, sit at the table. Maybe that's the objective. You can of course modify all those however you wish. And I have some examples of what those look like and more information about the idea of creating that social story. So it should have a kind of an arc, beginning and end. Again, this is creative writing, so have a little fun with it. But we want to see, kind of where it starts and how that story goes and where it ends, so that we see kind of the final piece of this is the behavior that's expected, and this is what we'd like to see. Again, try to stay away from the third person. You could try, first person if you'd like. I am, but typically we want to stay with third person. And you're going to basically have more or less 6 pages. Your beginning, your middle, and end more or less will reach out to about 6 pages with a learning objective and a conclusion. So usually it's one sentence per page. It doesn't have to be, but it typically is. Usually a sentence and a picture. And so sentence and a picture, sentence and a picture. So, describe what's going on, coach them a little, but not necessarily a lot, and give us that title and conclusion to start us off with. So let me show you an example. I'm going to show you Abby's. I would highly recommend checking out all of them. I'll show you a couple. This is Abby. She's got Jamie is going to the library. So after reading the story, Jamie will be able to walk into the library quietly. She'll be able to do her best she uses good language, and do her best to put her books back where she finds them and be quiet in the library. So this is done in Cast Book Builder, by the way. And so I would continue. And the cool thing about Cast, and actually the other one too, is that it's got built-in speech to text, so you can actually get it to speak out everything to the student, so they don't have to, and it can keep going automatically through the pages, which is nice for a student that might also have a physical disability where they need the assistive technology. So you can see how Abby has framed this. Jamie's excited. She's going to the library today, and there's Jamie, little pictures. It's finally time. She's excited. She's constantly modeling good behavior. She's quietly waiting for her place in line where her name is called. Something we'd like to see Jamie do, right? Then she pulls the books off the shelves, but she knows it's polite to put them back where she found them. So it's okay to pull those books out, but just put them back where you found them. So it's reinforcing those behaviors. Again, just responsible, good library behaviors. When she goes to the librarian and asks for something, she whispers, and she's using her inside voice because it's a quiet place, and then by the end, Jamie's returned to the classroom. She has her new books and she's excited. Right? So it's a very positive, uplifting way to show this ideal behavior that we're looking for from Jamie, who may otherwise have trouble being quiet, taking the books and putting them back. She may have trouble with all those things, but this is now helping her. And reinforcing the behavior, because now Jamie, or whoever the student is in question, can see herself doing that stuff. By reviewing that social story. Let me show you one that's for a slightly older age group. This one's actually for more middle school, which is based on a real thing. Amber is married to a teacher, and she was going through teacher training as well. And some of you may know Amber. And she asked her husband, who teaches 8th grade, what is a common behavior problem that you see in your classes? And this was the topic that he gave her. So seriously, I guess it's a problem. So here we go. It's pretty funny. It's hilarious. I highly recommend it. But, here she is introducing this concept of what we shouldn't do in a funny way. It's uplifting. Students, again, third person, they'll know, to use a tissue. She's got lots of awesome pictures too. We all have a nose. Sometimes we get an itch, blah, blah, blah. And so she goes through a whole series of things about what this problem is and how we can avoid it. It's awesome. I don't have to read it to you, but I highly recommend it. So hers is a little longer. She used Tar Heel Reader. So this is an example of what Tar Heel looks like. Basically the same idea. It can be spoken and so forth. So you can kind of see what they look like, and go through that whole process. So I recommend going through some of the examples, and I also recommend watching the extended lecture, because you're going to hear some of the same stuff again, but then you're also going to see a little bit more about how to use Cast and Tar Heel. So you have a choice. Pick which one makes more sense to you and check them out. But I do recommend the extended lecture for more of the technical stuff.